The hour of separation has arrived. Your next prayer will decide your throne or your chains. You've spoken to heaven like a beggar, asking for coins, and life answered with crumbs. Reverse it now. Pray as a creator. See riches as a sacred duty, and command your mind to serve your vision. Hill learned from kings without crowns that thought, charged with faith and purpose, magnetizes opportunity and multiplies gold. Stand up, breathe like a ruler, and declare the exact fortune you will steward for good. Do this daily vivid picture, burning desire, grateful certainty, and you will watch doors swing, allies appear, and money move toward you as if summoned by name. You pray for money and receive silence. You fold your hands, you lower your head, you speak into the dark, and the answer never comes. Not because heaven is deaf, not because God withholds, but because wealth does not respond to desperation. Wealth responds to law. You have been taught to beg when you should be commanding. You have been trained to hope when you should be building. And so your prayers dissolve into the air unanswered, while the man who understands spiritual law walks into abundance without uttering a single plea. Let me tell you the truth that no pulpit dares to whisper. Prayer is not petition. Prayer is programming. It is the deliberate act of impressing upon your subconscious mind a definite image, backed by emotion, repeated until belief hardens into certainty, and certainty commands circumstance. God does not multiply confusion. He does not bless fog. He does not reward the vague or the drifting. He multiplies what you govern. And if you do not govern your own thoughts, your own words, your own daily rhythm, then you are not ready to receive what heaven is willing to release. This is not theology. This is law. And law does not negotiate. It obeys the man who obeys it first. You have been praying the wrong prayer. You ask for provision without declaring purpose. You speak of blessing without defining the target. You cry out for increase while your mind drifts in a dozen directions, chasing phantoms, building nothing. But the man who prays with power does not ask vaguely. He commands specifically. He knows the number, he knows the date, he knows the means, and because his prayer is definite, his subconscious mind begins to organize every thought, every action, every conversation toward that singular end. That is the difference between the prayer that dissolves and the prayer that delivers. One is mist, the other is steel, and steel bends the world. I will show you how to pray like this. Not the prayer of the beggar, but the prayer of the builder. Not the prayer of the fearful, but the prayer of the faithful. Not the prayer that waits for mercy, but the prayer that claims dominion. And when you learn to pray this way, when you align your words with law, when you move your body in obedience to the image you have planted in your mind, then God will multiply what you have already begun to command. That is the promise. That is the pattern. That is the path. Here is what we will walk through together. First, you will learn the law of definite purpose. The iron law that says heaven blesses direction, not drift. You will write your chief aim with such clarity that your subconscious has no choice but to pursue it. Second, you will discover that prayer is auto-suggestion, the act of speaking into your own mind with such repetition and emotion that belief becomes inevitable. Third, you will practice strategic silence, the discipline of stilling the noise so that instruction can rise from within. Fourth, you will make the decision that burns the bridges, the choice that eliminates retreat and converts hesitation into forward motion. Fifth, you will form the mastermind alliance, the sacred agreement where aligned minds multiply power beyond what any single man can generate. And sixth, you will build the habit system, the rhythm that turns prayer into harvest, the daily sowing that ensures the gold pursues you instead of you chasing it. These are not suggestions. These are laws. And at the end of this teaching, you will be given a ritual, a measurable, repeatable practice that runs on a 30, 60, 90-day cycle. You will know exactly what to do in the morning, exactly what to do at night, exactly how to measure your obedience, and exactly when to expect the first fruits. This is not mysticism, this is mechanics. This is how the wealthy pray. This is how men who walk with God command increase. And if you are willing to submit to this discipline, if you are willing to govern yourself with the same precision that you expect from the world, then the multiplication will come, not because you deserve it, but because you obeyed the law that releases it. Now steel your mind, guard your attention, do not wander, do not skip, do not assume you already know. For what I am about to reveal has been hidden in plain sight for centuries, practiced by the men who built empires, ignored by the men who died poor. The choice is yours. But the law remains. And the law is this: God multiplies what you govern. So let us begin with the first question every man must answer before his prayer can ascend. What do you want, and when do you demand it? You cannot pray in fog. You cannot speak into the heavens with vague longings and expect the universe to arrange itself around your confusion. Heaven does not bless drift. It blesses direction. And direction begins with a single act of mental sovereignty, the writing of your definite chief aim. This is not a wish. This is not a dream scribbled in the margins of your mind. This is a command issued to yourself, witnessed by the unseen powers that govern success, and repeated until your entire being aligns with its inevitability. A definite chief aim is a statement of purpose so clear, so specific, so emotionally charged that your subconscious mind has no room to wander. It tells you what you will possess, by what date, through what means, and in service of whom. It removes all ambiguity. It eliminates all escape. It forces you to choose, and in that choice, power is born. Let me tell you why this matters. Your mind is a servant, not a master. It does not create goals. It pursues them. But if you do not give it a target, it will drift toward whatever impulse, fear, or distraction presents itself most loudly. The subconscious mind has no judgment. It does not evaluate whether your thoughts are noble or destructive, abundant or scarce. It simply accepts what you repeat with feeling and begins to attract circumstances that match. So, if your dominant thought is confusion, you will attract confusion. If your dominant thought is scarcity, you will magnetize lack. But if your dominant thought is a definite, emotionally backed, clearly written aim, then your subconscious will begin to reorganize your perception, your habits, your speech, and your actions to align with that aim. That is the law of autosuggestion in motion. That is how prayer becomes power. Consider the man who built an empire of steel. Andrew Carnegie did not tolerate vagueness in his organization. When a man came to him with a request for resources or authority, Carnegie would ask, "What is your aim? What is the number? What is the date? What is your plan?" And if the man could not answer with precision, Carnegie would not invest a single dollar. Why? Because Carnegie understood that the universe itself operates on the same principle. You cannot command what you have not defined. You cannot receive what you have not specified. And you cannot multiply what you have not yet begun to govern. Carnegie demanded clarity from his men because he knew that clarity was the first law of increase. And every man who rose under Carnegie's leadership rose because he learned to think in definite terms, to speak in measurable outcomes, and to move with unshakable conviction. So I ask you now, what is your definite chief aim? Not what you hope for, not what you wish might happen someday, but what you will possess, by what date, through what service, measured by what metric. Write it down. Do not think it. Do not imagine it vaguely. Write it. Use ink. Use paper. Make it physical. Give it form. Let your hand drag the image from the invisible into the visible. And as you write, feel the weight of the decision. Feel the finality of the commitment. Feel the shift that occurs when a thought becomes a declaration. That shift is the beginning of prayer. That shift is the moment when you stop begging and start commanding. Your aim must include a number. If you seek wealth, name the amount. If you seek position, name the title. If you seek influence, name the platform. Vagueness is the enemy of faith. Faith cannot operate in a house divided. It requires a single target, a single focus, a single burning obsession. And when your aim is written with that level of specificity, something happens in the unseen realm. Your subconscious begins to scan for opportunity. Your awareness sharpens. Conversations that once seemed irrelevant suddenly carry weight. Ideas that once seemed impossible begin to appear practical. Doors that once seemed locked begin to crack open, not because the world changed, but because you changed. You became definite, and definiteness attracts momentum. Now take that written aim and read it aloud. Do not whisper it. Do not mumble it in embarrassment. Speak it with authority. Speak it as if it is already done. Speak it in the morning when your mind is fresh and open. Speak it at night before sleep when your subconscious is most receptive. Let your voice carry the instruction into the depths of your being. Let the sound of your own declaration become the dominant influence over your thoughts. This is not vanity. This is not self-deception. This is the mechanics of belief. You are programming your mind to accept the reality of your aim before the world has validated it. And that internal acceptance is the invisible cause that produces the visible effect. Do you see now why most men never receive what they pray for? Because they pray without definition. They ask for blessing without naming the blessing. They speak of increase without measuring the increase. They cry out for provision without declaring the purpose. And so their prayers remain suspended in the ether, formless, powerless, dissolving into nothing. But you will not make that mistake. You will write your aim. You will name the number. You will set the date. You will read it twice daily with emotion and conviction. And by doing so, you will have taken the first step in the prayer that commands multiplication. You will have given God something to multiply. You will have given your subconscious something to pursue. And you will have given yourself a law to obey. Now let me speak a truth into your spirit. Wealth is not a reward for good behavior. Wealth is the result of mental discipline applied to a definite end. And that discipline begins with purpose. You must know what you are building. You must know why it matters. You must know when you demand its arrival. And you must write it, speak it, and live it until there is no gap between the man you are and the man you are commanding yourself to become. That gap is where most men die. They dream in one direction and drift in another. They speak faith on Sunday and doubt on Monday. They declare increase in the morning and surrender to scarcity by evening. But the man who prays with power eliminates the gap. He becomes whole. He becomes singular. He becomes law. And when a man becomes law, the world has no choice but to obey him. So I command you now, before you take another step, before you speak another word, before you allow another day to slip into the void, write your definite chief aim. Make it specific. Make it measurable. Make it emotional. And make it yours. Let it be the lens through which every decision is filtered, the standard by which every action is judged, the voice that drowns out every distraction. And when you have written it, do not hide it. Carry it with you. Print it. Fold it. Place it in your wallet, in your pocket, on your mirror. Let it become the most familiar sentence in your life. Let it become the sound your mind hears before it hears anything else. That is the first law of the prayer that multiplies. That is the foundation upon which everything else is built. And if you obey this law, if you write with clarity and speak with conviction, then you will have begun the process that turns silence into increase, fog into fortune, and prayer into power. You have written your aim. You have declared the target. You have given your subconscious a command. But ink on paper is not enough. Words spoken once will not penetrate the fortress of old belief. You must now understand the mechanism by which prayer becomes power, the law by which repetition transforms thought into fact. This is the second movement in the architecture of increase. Prayer is not petition. Prayer is auto-suggestion. It is the deliberate, disciplined, emotionally charged repetition of words that reshape the invisible structure of your mind. And when that structure changes, your world must follow. Most men do not know this. They speak their desire once, perhaps twice, and then they wait. They wait for God to move. They wait for luck to arrive. They wait for circumstances to shift. But the man who understands spiritual law does not wait. He repeats. He repeats with feeling. He repeats with vision. He repeats until the words cease to be words and become identity. That is the power of autosuggestion. It is the furnace in which belief is forged. And belief, when fused with emotion and backed by a definite aim, becomes the invisible hand that bends reality. Let me show you how this works. Your subconscious mind is a fertile field. It does not judge the seeds you plant. It does not distinguish between truth and falsehood, wealth and poverty, power and weakness. It simply accepts what you give it through repetition and emotional intensity, and it begins to grow that seed into circumstance. If you plant fear, you will harvest obstacles. If you plant doubt, you will harvest delay. But if you plant certainty, if you plant images of success, if you plant declarations of identity spoken with conviction, then your subconscious will begin to attract the people, the ideas, and the opportunities that align with those declarations. This is not magic. This is law. And the law does not care whether you believe it. It simply operates. Henry Ford understood this law better than most men of his time. When he conceived the idea of the V8 engine, his engineers told him it was impossible. The design violated established principles. The materials could not withstand the stress. The cost would bankrupt the company. But Ford did not argue with them. He simply repeated his command, "Build it." His engineers returned with failure. He repeated the command, "Build it." They protested. He repeated, "Build it." For months the cycle continued. And then one day, the engine ran. Not because the laws of physics changed, but because Ford's unwavering belief, repeated with such intensity and conviction, reprogrammed the minds of the men around him. They began to see solutions where they had only seen impossibility. They began to test methods they had previously dismissed. And the breakthrough came not from new knowledge, but from new belief. That is the power of autosuggestion in action. Ford spoke the result into existence by refusing to speak anything else. You must do the same. But you cannot repeat vague hopes. You cannot mumble half-hearted wishes. You must write affirmations that are so specific, so emotionally charged, so aligned with your definite chief aim that your subconscious has no room to misunderstand. These are not idle phrases. These are commands. These are instructions to be. The deepest part of your mind, the part that controls your perception, your energy, your habits, and your actions. And when you give that part of your mind a clear, repeated, emotionally backed instruction, it must obey. It has no choice. That is its function. That is its design. Here is what you will do. You will write 11 affirmations, 11 declarations of identity, law, and action, all connected to your definite chief aim. Each one must be written in the present tense, as if it is already true. Not I will become, not I hope to achieve, but I am, I command, I possess. You will write them by hand. You will feel the weight of each word as you form it. And when you are finished, you will have created a mirror, a reflection of the man you are commanding yourself to become. And that reflection, repeated daily with emotion, will eventually replace the old image, the image of doubt, of limitation, of fear. And when the old image is gone, the new man will emerge, not because you pretended, but because you programmed. Let me give you the structure. Your first affirmation must declare your identity, who you are, not who you were, not who you hope to be, but who you are now, in this moment, by decision. I am a man of wealth and wisdom. I am a builder of systems. I am a commander of increase. Speak it as law. Feel the weight of the declaration. Let your voice carry the authority of truth, even if your circumstances do not yet reflect it. Your subconscious does not see your circumstances. It only hears your voice, and it believes what you repeat. Your second affirmation must declare your relationship with money. Money flows to me because I serve with value. Wealth pursues me because I obey the law of increase. I command riches through understanding, and understanding is my daily bread. These are not wishes. These are statements of spiritual law. You are not begging money to come. You are declaring the condition under which it must come. And when you repeat this, Declaration with emotion, your subconscious begins to scan for opportunities to serve, to create, to deliver value. And value delivered is wealth attracted. That is the law. Your third affirmation must declare your freedom from fear. I do not fear poverty. I do not fear criticism. I do not fear failure. I move in faith. I speak in certainty, and I act without retreat. Fear is the assassin of wealth. It paralyzes the hand. It silences the voice. It clouds the mind. But when you declare your immunity to fear, when you repeat that declaration until it becomes the dominant voice in your inner world, then fear loses its grip. It cannot hold you. It cannot stop you. And when fear is gone, action becomes inevitable. Your fourth affirmation must declare your discipline. Each day I obey my aim. Each day I govern my thoughts. Each day I speak only what builds, and I silence what destroys. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is devotion to law. It is the choice to align your behavior with your belief. And when that alignment is complete, when there is no gap between what you say and what you do, then the universe recognizes you as a serious man, and serious men receive serious results. Your fifth affirmation must declare your expectation. I expect increase. I expect opportunity. I expect doors to open because I have prepared myself to walk through them. Expectation is not hope. Hope is passive. Expectation is active. It is the state of mind that scans for evidence, that recognizes when the moment has arrived, that moves without hesitation when the signal is given. And expectation, when backed by preparation and repeated daily, becomes prophecy. Your sixth affirmation must declare your service. I serve others with my gifts, my time, and my understanding. I do not withhold value, and therefore value does not withhold from me. Wealth is always a byproduct of service. The man who hoards his knowledge, his time, his skill, will find that the world hoards from him, but the man who gives freely, who serves with excellence, who delivers more than is expected, will find that the world cannot stop giving back. That is the law of reciprocity. That is the law that governs every fortune ever built. Your seventh affirmation must declare your persistence. I do not quit. I do not retreat. I do not accept defeat. I reframe every failure as instruction, and I move again, stronger, wiser, closer. Persistence is not stubbornness. Persistence is obedience to vision. It is the refusal to allow temporary circumstances to define permanent identity. And when you repeat this declaration, when you let it sink into the depths of your mind, then setbacks lose their power. They become data. They become fuel. They become the resistance that builds the muscle of character. Your eighth affirmation must declare your gratitude. I am grateful for what I have, for what I am becoming, and for what is already mine in the unseen realm. Gratitude is not weakness. Gratitude is recognition of law. It is the acknowledgement that increase has already begun, even if the harvest has not yet appeared. And gratitude spoken daily trains the mind to see abundance where others see scarcity. And what the mind sees, the life becomes. Your ninth affirmation must declare your clarity. My aim is fixed. My path is clear. My steps are measured. I do not drift. I do not wander. And I do not allow distraction to steal my focus. Clarity is the razor that cuts through confusion. It is the light that reveals the next step. And when you declare your clarity daily, your subconscious begins to filter out noise, to ignore irrelevance, to focus only on what advances your aim. And focus, sustained over time, is unstoppable. Your 10th affirmation must declare your authority. I govern my mind. I command my habits. I direct my energy. I am the master of my inner world, and therefore I am the architect of my outer world. Authority is not arrogance. Authority is stewardship. It is the recognition that you have been given dominion over one thing, your own thoughts, and that dominion, exercised daily, is the source of all external power. The man who cannot govern himself will always serve the man who can. Your 11th affirmation must declare your alignment with the divine. God multiplies what I govern. I walk in faith, I move in obedience, and I trust the law that governs increase. I do not demand what I have not earned. I do not claim what I have not built, but what I build with wisdom, what I govern with discipline, what I sow with integrity, God multiplies beyond measure. This is the final affirmation, the one that acknowledges the source of all increase. You are not the creator, you are the steward. And when you steward well, when you obey the law, when you govern what has been entrusted to you, then the multiplication comes. Not because you are special, but because you are obedient. Now take these 11 affirmations and write them in your own hand. Do not type them. Do not copy them from a screen. Write them. Feel the weight of the pen. Feel the transfer of energy from thought to ink to paper. And when you are finished, you will have created the script of your new identity. You will have written the law that your subconscious will obey. And now comes the practice. Every morning, before the world speaks, before the noise begins, you will stand before a mirror. You will look into your own eyes, and you will speak each affirmation 3 times, not quickly, not mechanically, but with emotion, with conviction, with the certainty of a man who knows he is declaring truth, even if the evidence has not yet arrived. Let your voice carry power. Let your posture reflect authority. Let your face show belief, and as you speak, feel the words sinking into the depths of your mind, rewriting the old code, installing the new program, building the foundation of the man you are becoming. Do this in the morning, and do it again at night, twice daily, without fail, without excuse. Let this become the most important 12 minutes of your day, more important than email, more important than news, more important than the opinions of others, because this is the time when you are building belief, and belief is the substance of all wealth. Belief is the force that turns prayer into power. Belief is the engine that drives every manifestation from the invisible into the visible, and belief is not given, it is built. It is built by repetition, it is built by emotion. It is built by the disciplined act of speaking into your own mind until the voice of faith is louder than the voice of fear. Do you understand now why most men never rise? Because they never reprogram. They carry the same beliefs they inherited, the same doubts they were taught, the same limitations they absorbed from the world, and those beliefs govern their actions. Those doubts shape their decisions. Those limitations define their results. But you will not be like them. You will take dominion over your own mind. You will write the law. You will speak the law. And you will live the law. And when you do, when you repeat with consistency and emotion, when you build belief through disciplined autosuggestion, then the world will begin to conform to the image you have planted within. That is not theory. That is mechanics. That is how prayer becomes power. That is how words become wealth. You have spoken your affirmations. You have programmed your mind with repetition and emotion. But there is another discipline, one that most men ignore, one that carries power equal to speech itself. It is the discipline of silence, strategic, deliberate, measured silence. The silence in which instruction rises, the silence in which clarity emerges, the silence in which the voice of wisdom speaks louder than the noise of the world. And the man who does not practice this silence will forever be at the mercy of external chaos, reacting to circumstances instead of commanding them. Let me tell you why silence matters. Your mind is constantly receiving input. Words, images, opinions, demands, distractions. Every moment, the world is shouting at you, pulling your attention in 1,000 directions, fragmenting your focus, scattering your energy. And if you do not create space for silence, if you do not deliberately withdraw from the noise, then your subconscious mind will never have the opportunity to process what you have planted. It will never have the space to reorganize, to clarify, to reveal the next step. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is the womb of insight. It is the workshop where vision is refined. It is the chamber where the still, small voice of guidance can finally be heard. Thomas Edison understood this law. He did not merely work, he also withdrew. In the midst of his most intense experiments, he would pause, sit in stillness, close his eyes, and allow his mind to wander in the dark. He called it incubation. He knew that the conscious mind, for all its brilliance, is limited. It can only process what it already knows. But the subconscious mind, when given silence, when freed from the tyranny of constant input, begins to make connections that the conscious mind cannot see. It begins to draw from the storehouse of all past experience, all accumulated knowledge, all intuitive wisdom. And from that storehouse, solutions emerge, ideas rise, direction becomes clear. Edison did not discover the electric lamp by accident. He discovered it by combining intense focus with deliberate silence. He worked until he reached the edge of his conscious understanding, and then he paused, withdrew, and allowed the deeper mind to complete what the surface mind could not. You must do the same. You must carve out time each day for silence. Not the silence of sleep, not the silence of distraction, but the silence of attention, the silence in which you are fully present, fully awake, fully aware, and yet completely still. This is not meditation in the mystical sense. This is practical, operational discipline. This is the act of withdrawing from the noise so that you can hear the signal. And the signal is always there. It is the voice of your own subconscious, the voice of intuition, the voice of the laws that govern success. But that voice is quiet. It does not shout. It does not compete with the world. It only speaks to the man who has learned to be still. Here is how you will practice this discipline. Every morning, after you have spoken your 11 affirmations, you will sit, not in a chair where you might slouch or drift into sleep, but upright, feet flat on the floor, spine straight, hands resting on your knees. You will close your eyes, and you will breathe 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, 4 counts out, 4 counts hold. This is the rhythm of controlled breathing, the rhythm that calms the nervous system, that slows the racing mind, that creates the internal space for clarity to emerge. You will breathe this way for 5 minutes. Only 5, not an hour, not 30 minutes. 5 minutes of absolute, undistracted, disciplined silence. During these 5 minutes, you will do nothing. You will not try to solve problems. You will not rehearse conversations. You will not plan your day. You will simply breathe and observe. Observe the thoughts that rise. Observe the sensations in your body. Observe the emotions that flicker across your awareness. But do not engage them. Do not follow them. Let them pass like clouds across the sky. Your only job is to breathe and to witness. And in that witnessing, something will happen. The noise will begin to fade. The chatter will begin to quiet. And in the space that remains, a thought will emerge, a clear thought, a directive thought, a thought that feels different from the usual mental traffic. That thought is instruction. That thought is guidance. That thought is the voice of your subconscious, responding to the seeds you have planted through your affirmations, offering you the next step, the next move, the next adjustment. When that thought comes, do not dismiss it. Do not analyze it to death. Do not question whether it is divine or merely mental. Simply receive it. And when your 5 minutes are complete, when you open your eyes and return to the world, write it down. Write the thought immediately, before it fades, before the noise drowns it out. Keep a notebook for this purpose. Call it your instruction log. Every morning, after your silence, record what arose. It may be a name. It may be an action. It may be a warning. It may be a correction. Whatever it is, write it. And then, during the day, act on it. Do not wait for more confirmation. Do not seek validation from others. If the instruction is clear, if it aligns with your definite chief aim, if it feels like the next logical step, then move. That is how you convert silence into power. That is how you transform stillness into action. But there is a danger here, a trap that destroys more men than any external obstacle. It is the danger of speaking too soon, of sharing your vision with those who cannot see it, of revealing your plan to those who will only criticize it. Silence is not only an inward discipline, it is also an outward strategy. You must learn when to speak and when to withhold. You must learn to guard your vision from the voices of doubt, the eyes of skepticism, the opinions of those who have never built anything. The world is filled with men who will tell you what cannot be done. They will list the reasons, the obstacles, the risks. They will remind you of every failure, every past mistake, every limitation. And if you allow their words into your mind, if you give them access to your inner world, they will poison the seed you have planted. They will introduce doubt where there was certainty. They will introduce fear where there was faith. And your prayer, which was beginning to take root, will wither. So I give you this command: do not discuss your definite chief aim with skeptics. Do not share your affirmations with mockers. Do not reveal your plans to those who have not earned the right to hear them. Keep your vision close. Speak it only to those who are aligned with your purpose, those who are walking the same path, those who understand the laws you are obeying. Everyone else is noise, and noise is the enemy of clarity. Protect your silence. Protect your inner world. Let your results speak louder than your words. And when the harvest comes, when the increase becomes visible, then the skeptics will have nothing to say. They will simply watch in silence as you walk into the abundance they said was impossible. Now let me ask you a question you must answer honestly. How much time do you spend in silence each day? How much time do you spend away from the screen, away from the voices, away from the distractions? How much time do you give your subconscious to process, to clarify, to reveal? If the answer is none, if you are constantly consuming, constantly reacting, constantly filling every moment with noise, then you are starving the very part of your mind that holds the key to your breakthrough. You are drowning the voice of instruction with the static of the world, and that is why your prayer remains unanswered, not because heaven is silent, but because you are too loud to hear. Change this today. Commit to 5 minutes of silence every morning, just 5. It is not much. It is not difficult, but it is non-negotiable. Make it as sacred as your affirmations. Make it as important as your aim. Because silence is the space where faith deepens. Silence is the room where vision sharpens. Silence is the discipline that separates the man who merely speaks from the man who commands. And when you combine speech with silence, when you balance declaration with stillness, when you pour words into the subconscious and then give it space to work, you create a rhythm of power that nothing can resist. That is the third law of the prayer that multiplies. That is the discipline that turns fog into clarity and confusion into command. You have written your aim. You have spoken your affirmations. You have practiced your silence. And now comes the moment that separates the dreamer from the builder, the wisher from the warrior, the man who talks from the man who moves. It is the moment of decision, and not just any decision, the decision that burns the bridges, the decision that eliminates retreat, the decision that converts possibility into inevitability. For until you decide with finality, until you cut off all paths except the one that leads to your aim, you are still negotiating with yourself, and a house divided cannot stand. Indecision is the graveyard of potential. It is the silent killer of dreams. It is the poison that seeps into the subconscious and whispers, "You are not serious. You are not committed. You are still looking for a way out." And when the subconscious hears that whisper, it withdraws its energy. It stops building. It stops attracting. It stops aligning. Because the subconscious mind does not serve the man who hesitates. It serves the man who commands, and command requires decision, absolute, final, irrevocable decision. Let me tell you about a man who understood this law better than most. Abraham Lincoln, a man who walked through valleys of doubt, who faced criticism from every side, who carried the weight of a nation tearing itself apart. But in the midst of that chaos, Lincoln made a decision. He decided that the Union would be preserved. He decided that slavery would end. He decided that he would bear the burden, pay the cost, and endure the hatred of half the nation if necessary. And once that decision was made, once the bridge was burned, once retreat was no longer an option, then every ounce of his energy, every moment of his focus, every word of his speech aligned with that decision. He did not waver, he did not negotiate, he did not seek an easier path, he simply moved forward step by step, day by day, until the decision became reality. That is the power of decision. That is the law that turns thought into fact. You must now examine your own life. How many decisions are you still negotiating? How many commitments are you still debating? How many paths are you still keeping open, just in case your primary aim does not work out? Those open paths are not safety. They are sabotage. They are the escape routes that your subconscious will take the moment resistance appears. They are the reason you start strong and finish weak. They are the reason your prayer remains unanswered. Because God does not bless the man who keeps 1 foot in faith and 1 foot in fear. He blesses the man who leaps. So here is what you will do. You will take a piece of paper and you will write down every area of your life where you are still undecided. Every project you have half started, every commitment you have half made, every plan you have half executed. Write them all. Look at them. And then choose. Choose one. Not all. Not 10. One. The one that matters most. The one that aligns most directly with your definite chief aim. The one that, if completed, would create the most momentum. Choose that one, and then make the decision that burns the bridge. What does that mean in practical terms? It means you take action within 24 hours that makes retreat impossible. If you have decided to launch a business, you register the entity today. If you have decided to build a product, you announce the launch date today. If you have decided to leave a job, you submit your resignation today. If you have decided to invest, you transfer the funds today. You do not wait for perfect clarity. You do not wait for all the fear to dissipate. You do not wait for conditions to improve. You decide, and then you act in a way that locks the decision in place. You burn the bridge. You cut the retreat. You make it impossible to go back. And in that moment, something shifts. Your subconscious recognizes that you are serious. Your energy returns. Your focus sharpens. Ideas begin to flow. Opportunities begin to appear. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Let me tell you what happens when you do not decide. You drift. You hesitate. You gather more information. You consult more opinions. You wait for a sign. And while you wait, another man moves. He makes the decision you were afraid to make. He takes the action you were postponing. He claims the ground you were studying. And when you finally decide, when you finally muster the courage to move, you discover that the opportunity has closed, not because it was never yours, but because you waited too long. That is the cost of indecision. That is the price of keeping the bridge intact. You do not lose because you fail. You lose because you delay. So I command you now, stop negotiating with yourself. Stop keeping backup plans. Stop pretending that caution is wisdom. Caution is fear dressed in respectable clothing. And fear is the assassin of destiny. You were not born to play it safe. You were born to build. And building requires risk. It requires decision. It requires the willingness to leap before the net appears, to speak before the proof arrives, to move before the path is fully lit. That is faith, not blind faith, not reckless faith, but faith that understands the law that says movement precedes clarity, the law that says decision activates power, the law that says the universe does not help the man who hesitates. It helps the man who commits. Now take the decision you have identified, the one that aligns with your aim, the one that scares you just enough to know it matters, and within 24 hours, take one irreversible action. Cancel something that no longer serves you. Delegate something that drains your energy. Execute something that advances your aim. Make the phone call. Send the email. Transfer the money. Sign the contract. Announce the plan. Do something that makes it impossible to pretend you are still considering. Do something that forces you forward. Do something that burns the bridge. And when you do, you will feel it. You will feel the shift. You will feel the energy return. You will feel the power of commitment coursing through your veins. And that feeling, that surge of clarity and momentum, is the proof that you have obeyed the law. That is the fourth movement in the prayer that commands increase. That is the discipline that converts thought into action and action into result. You have decided. You have burned the bridge. You have committed yourself to forward motion. But there is a force, a multiplier, a law that most men never access because they believe they must walk alone. They believe that strength is solitary, that power is private, that success is a lone wolf's journey. But that belief is a lie, and it is a costly one. For no man who ever built anything great did so by himself. Every empire, every fortune, every movement that changed the world was built by minds in alliance, not competition, not isolation, alliance. And the name of this law is the mastermind. And when two or more minds come together in harmony, fixed upon a definite aim, a third mind is born. A greater mind, a mind that carries power beyond what any individual could generate alone. Let me show you why this matters. Your mind, no matter how brilliant, is limited. It is limited by your experience, your education, your perspective, your blind spots. You cannot see what you have not been trained to see. You cannot know what you have not yet learned. And if you rely solely on your own mind, you will eventually hit a ceiling. You will reach the edge of your current capacity, and you will stop. Not because you lack ambition, but because you lack the input that could take you further. But when you align with other minds, when you surround yourself with men and women who see what you do not see, who know what you do not know, who bring skills, insights, and perspectives that complement your own, then that ceiling disappears, the limitations dissolve, and what was impossible alone becomes inevitable together. This is not networking. This is not casual friendship. This is not the shallow exchange of business cards and pleasantries. This is sacred alliance. This is the deliberate, structured, disciplined gathering of minds around a common purpose. And when that alliance is formed correctly, when it operates according to law, it becomes a force of nature. It becomes a generator of ideas, a source of energy, a magnet for opportunity. And the man who builds such an alliance will find that his progress accelerates, his vision clarifies, his obstacles shrink. Not because he became smarter, but because he multiplied his mental power through unity. John D. Rockefeller understood this law from the beginning. He did not build Standard Oil alone. He surrounded himself with men of exceptional ability, men who understood finance, logistics, negotiation, law, men whose strengths covered his weaknesses, men whose vision aligned with his own. And he treated those men not as employees, but as partners. He shared information. He solicited input. He made decisions based on collective wisdom, not solitary pride. And because of that alliance, because of that harmony of purpose, Standard Oil grew faster, larger, and more profitably than any single man could have imagined. Rockefeller did not weaken by sharing power. He multiplied by sharing vision. That is the mastermind in action. That is the law that turns individual effort into collective momentum. You must now form your own mastermind alliance, not someday, not when you feel ready, now. And here is how you will do it. You will identify 2 to 5 people who are aligned with your definite chief aim, not people who are exactly like you, not people who will only affirm what you already believe, but people who bring complementary strengths, people who see differently, people who challenge you, stretch you, hold you accountable. These people must meet 3 criteria. First, they must be moving, not drifting, not complaining, not waiting for rescue. They must be men and women of action, people who are already building something, already pursuing something, already committed to growth. Second, they must be honest, not polite, not evasive, but willing to speak truth even when it is uncomfortable, willing to call out drift, delay, and self-deception. willing to celebrate progress and confront stagnation. Third, they must be aligned in spirit, not identical in belief, but harmonious in values. They must honor commitment, discipline, integrity, and excellence. They must reject excuses, victimhood, and mediocrity. If they do not meet these three criteria, do not invite them, for a mastermind alliance is only as strong as its weakest member. One cynic can poison the well, one drifter can drain the energy, one complainer can turn the meeting into therapy instead of strategy. Once you have identified your 2 to 5 people, you will invite them into formal alliance, not a casual group chat, not an occasional coffee, but a structured, recurring, disciplined meeting with a clear purpose and a defined format. You will meet once per week for 60 minutes at the same time on the same day. Consistency is law. Rhythm is power. And when your meeting time is fixed, when it is non-negotiable, when it is treated with the same reverence as a sacred appointment, then the subconscious minds of every member begin to prepare in advance. Ideas surface, insights clarify, solutions emerge, not during the meeting, but because the meeting exists. Here is the structure of your mastermind meeting. It is simple, but it must be followed without deviation. The first 10 minutes are for goals. Each member states their definite chief aim and their progress since the last meeting. Not lengthy explanations, not excuses, just facts. What was the target? What was accomplished? What is the next milestone? This is the accountability phase. It forces clarity. It exposes drift. It ensures that every member is moving, measuring, and maintaining focus. And when a man knows he will stand before his alliance every week and report his progress, he moves differently. He works harder. He resists distraction. He does not allow himself to drift, because he will not stand before his brothers and sisters and confess that he wasted the week. The next 20 minutes are for obstacles. Each member identifies the single greatest challenge they are facing in the pursuit of their aim. Not 10 problems. One, the one that, if removed, would create the most momentum. And then the group works together to dismantle that obstacle, not with sympathy, not with commiseration, but with strategy. One member may see a solution the other missed. One member may know a person, a resource, a method that applies. One member may simply ask the question that reframes the entire problem. This is where the power of multiple perspectives becomes tangible. What felt like an insurmountable wall to one mind becomes a minor detour when viewed through 5 minds. And the man who arrived at the meeting feeling stuck leaves with a clear path forward. The next 20 minutes are for commitments. Each member declares one action they will complete before the next meeting. Not a vague intention, a specific, measurable, time-bound action. And that action must directly advance their definite chief aim. The group listens. The group questions. The group ensures that the commitment is clear, realistic, and strategic. And then the commitment is recorded, written down, witnessed. And the following week, when the meeting reconvenes, the first question asked is this: did you do what you said you would do? And if the answer is yes, the group celebrates. And if the answer is no, the group inquires. Not with judgment, but with precision. What stopped you? What must change? What will you do differently this week? This level of accountability is rare. Most men never experience it. And that is why most men drift. But when you place yourself in an alliance where your word is measured, where your commitments are tracked, where your progress is visible, then you cannot hide, you cannot pretend, you cannot delay. You must move, and that pressure, when applied with love and respect, becomes the fire that forges character. The final 10 minutes are for prayer, not religious ritual, but focused intention. The group speaks aloud, in turn, a declaration of faith over their collective aims. They affirm that the obstacles will be removed. They affirm that the resources will appear. They affirm that the path will open. They speak as if it is already done. And when multiple voices declare the same truth, when multiple minds hold the same vision, a frequency is created, a resonance, a spiritual alignment that attracts what the individual alone could not summon. This is not superstition. This is the law of the mastermind. When minds unite in harmony, they generate power that transcends logic. Ideas flow, synchronicities occur, doors open that were previously invisible, and the man who experiences this once will never walk alone again. Now, I must warn you, your mastermind alliance will be tested. There will be weeks when someone does not show. There will be meetings when the energy feels flat. There will be moments when someone drifts, when commitment wavers, when the group feels more like obligation than opportunity. When that happens, do not abandon the alliance. Address it. Call it out. Reaffirm the purpose. Remove the member who refuses to honor the agreement. But do not let the structure collapse, because once you lose the rhythm, once you allow the meetings to become optional, once you permit mediocrity to enter the circle, the power dissipates, the third mind dies, and you are left alone again, with only your own limited perspective to guide you. Guard your alliance, protect the rhythm, honor the structure, and if one member leaves, replace them quickly with someone who meets the 3 criteria. Keep the circle strong, keep the momentum alive, because your mastermind is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It is the law that multiplies power. It is the force that turns individual effort into collective inevitability. And so I command you, within the next 7 days, identify your 2 to 5 people, extend the invitation, set the first meeting date, prepare the structure, and begin. Do not wait for the perfect group. Do not wait for people who are already wealthy. Do not wait for experts or celebrities. Find people who are moving, people who are honest, people who are aligned, and build the alliance. For when you do, when you experience the power of minds in harmony, when you feel the momentum that comes from collective focus, you will wonder how you ever tried to walk this path alone. And your prayer, which was already gaining power, will now have the force of many voices, and that force will bend the world. You have your aim, you have your affirmations, you have your silence, you have your decision, you have your alliance, and now we come to the law that governs all of it, the law that determines whether your prayer becomes harvest or remains forever in the realm of wishful thinking. It is the law of habit, the law of rhythm, the law of sowing, for no man ever reaped what he did not sow, and no man ever sowed without rhythm, and rhythm, sustained over time, becomes the force that delivers the inevitable result. Let me speak plainly. You can have the clearest aim in the world, the most powerful affirmations, the deepest silence, the boldest decision, and the strongest alliance. But if you do not translate those elements into daily, measurable, repeatable action, they will remain theory. They will remain dreams. They will remain wishes. But when you take those elements and you build them into a system, when you convert thought into ritual, when you make obedience automatic, then you cross the line. You move from the realm of intention into the realm of manifestation. And manifestation is not magic. Manifestation is mathematics. It is the result of small actions, repeated consistently, compounded over time. The wealthy understand this. They do not rely on inspiration. They do not wait for motivation. They build systems. They build routines. They build rhythms that run whether they feel like it or not. And those rhythms, those habits, become the invisible infrastructure of their success. You see the result, the wealth, the influence, the freedom, but you do not see the ritual that produced it. You do not see the morning routine that begins before dawn. You do not see the evening review that tracks every dollar, every decision, every deviation. You do not see the weekly audit that measures progress against plan. You do not see the daily disciplines that seem insignificant in isolation, but become unstoppable when compounded. That is the secret. That is the law. Wealth is not an event. Wealth is a rhythm, and the man who builds the rhythm will receive the result. So here is what you will build: a microsystem, a small, simple, repeatable structure that converts your time into ownership, not time into wages, not time into survival, but time into assets, assets that produce, assets that multiply, assets that work while you sleep. And you will start with one, just one, not 10, not a complex empire. One simple system that generates value, serves others, and creates a stream of income that is not dependent on your hourly presence. This is how you break free from the trap of labor. This is how you move from selling time to commanding wealth. What is a microsystem? It is a product. It is a service. It is a platform. It is a process. It is anything that delivers value to others in a repeatable way. It could be an information product that solves a problem. It could be a simple software tool that automates a task. It could be a consulting offer packaged into a clear deliverable. It could be an investment that generates passive return. The form does not matter. What matters is that it exists. What matters is that you build it. What matters is that once built, it can run with minimal ongoing input. And what matters most is that you start now. Here is your assignment. You will dedicate 5 hours per week to building your microsystem. Not someday. Not when you have more time. Now, 5 hours. That is less than 1 hour per day. That is one episode of television. That is 1 hour of scrolling. That is 1 hour of distraction that you will now redirect into creation. And those 5 hours, invested consistently, will compound. In 30 days, you will have 20 hours of focused work. In 60 days, 40 hours. In 90 days, 60 hours. And 60 hours of focused strategic work is enough to build something real. Something that delivers value. Something that begins to generate return. You will track your progress. You will measure your execution. You will treat this microsystem as sacred work, not optional work. And you will protect those 5 hours as fiercely as you protect your mastermind meeting, your morning affirmations, your evening silence, because those 5 hours are the difference between theory and reality. Those 5 hours are the bridge between prayer and harvest. Those 5 hours are where wealth is actually built. Now let me speak to you about the wisdom that governs this rhythm. King Solomon, a man who understood the laws of increase better than most, wrote these words, "Through wisdom a house is built, through understanding it is established, and by knowledge the rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasures." Do you hear what he is saying? Wisdom is not passive. Wisdom builds. Wisdom constructs. Wisdom converts thought into form, form into function, function into abundance, and the man who walks in wisdom does not merely accumulate facts. He applies understanding. He builds systems. He creates structures that serve others and thereby generate wealth. That is the law. That is the pattern. That is the path that every rich man has walked. And you will walk it too, if you are willing to sow with discipline and reap with patience. But sowing is not random. Sowing is rhythmic, and rhythm requires a structure, a schedule, a non-negotiable commitment to the process. So now I will give you the ritual, the daily, measurable, repeatable practice that turns all these laws into lived experience. This is not theory. This is operation. This is the system that, when followed for 30 days, then 60 days, then 90 days, will produce visible, tangible, undeniable results. And when those results appear, when the harvest begins to show, you will no longer need faith. You will have proof. But until that moment, you must walk by law, not by sight. You must obey the rhythm, whether you feel like it or not, whether the evidence has appeared or not, whether others believe in you or not. The ritual does not care about your feelings. It only cares about your obedience. And obedience, sustained over time, always delivers. Here is what your mornings will look like. You will rise before the world speaks, not at a convenient time, not when you feel rested, but at a fixed time, a time you have chosen, a time that gives you dominion over the first hour of your day. And in that first hour, you will perform the ritual that builds belief, clarity, and momentum. You will begin at your mirror, not sitting, not lying down. but standing upright, feet planted, shoulders back, eyes locked on your own reflection, and you will speak. You will speak the 11 affirmations you have written, the 11 declarations of identity and law, but you will not speak them once. You will speak each one 3 times. And you will speak them with emotion, with conviction, with the authority of a man who knows he is declaring truth. You will say, I am a man of wealth and wisdom. I build systems that serve and multiply. I do not trade my life for crumbs. My work builds ownership, not dependence. You will say it once, feeling the weight of the words. You will say it again, letting the sound of your voice penetrate deeper. You will say it a 3rd time, sealing the declaration into the depths of your subconscious. And then you will move to the next affirmation. Money flows to me because I serve with value. Wealth pursues me because I obey the law of increase. I command riches through understanding, and understanding is my daily bread. 3 times, with feeling, with vision, with the certainty of a man who is not wishing but commanding. You will continue through all 11 affirmations, speaking each one 3 times, never rushing, never mumbling, never allowing distraction to steal your focus. I do not fear poverty. I do not fear criticism. I do not fear failure. I move in faith. I speak in certainty, and I act without retreat. Each day I obey my aim. Each day I govern my thoughts. Each day I speak only what builds, and I silence what destroys. I expect increase. I expect opportunity. I expect doors to open because I have prepared myself to walk through them. I serve others with my gifts, my time, and my understanding. I do not withhold value, and therefore value does not withhold from me. I do not quit. I do not retreat. I do not accept defeat. I reframe every failure as instruction, and I move again, stronger, wiser, closer. I am grateful for what I have, for what I am becoming, and for what is already mine in the unseen realm. My aim is fixed. My path is clear. My steps are measured. I do not drift. I do not wander, and I do not allow distraction to steal my focus. I govern my mind. I command my habits. I direct my energy. I am the master of my inner world, and therefore I am the architect of my outer world. God multiplies what I govern. I walk in faith, I move in obedience, and I trust the plightage to a law that governs increase. I do not demand what I have not earned. I do not claim what I have not built. But what I build with wisdom, what I govern with discipline, what I sow with integrity, God multiplies beyond measure. 11 affirmations, 3 repetitions each, 33 declarations, 12 minutes of pure, focused, emotionally charged programming. This is not optional. This is law. When you finish speaking, you will sit. You will close your eyes. You will breathe. 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, 4 counts out, 4 counts hold, and you will do this for 5 minutes. You will not think about your day. You will not rehearse conversations. You will not solve problems. You will simply breathe and observe. And in that silence, in that stillness, instruction will rise. A thought, a name, an action, a direction. You will not force it. You will simply receive it. And when the 5 minutes are complete, you will open your eyes and you will write. You will write what came to you in the silence. You will record the instruction. And during the day, you will act on it. Then you will read your definite chief aim aloud. You will read it with your full voice, with authority, with the posture of a man who knows it is already done. You will read it as if you are reading a fact, not a hope. And after you read it, you will place the paper back in your wallet, in your pocket, where it will remain all day, a constant reminder of the law you are obeying. That is your morning, 30 minutes. 12 minutes at the mirror, 5 minutes in silence, 3 minutes reading your aim, 10 minutes writing the instruction and preparing for the day. 30 minutes that set the trajectory for the next 16 hours. 30 minutes that determine whether you drift or whether you command. 30 minutes that build the life you are demanding. Your evenings will be different, but equally non-negotiable. At the end of your day, before you surrender to sleep, You will sit again, and you will conduct a review, not a vague reflection, a structured, measured accounting of your obedience. You will write down 3 specific things you are grateful for from the day, not generic blessings, specific outcomes, specific conversations, specific progress. You will name them. You will feel the gratitude. You will allow that emotion to settle into your subconscious, training your mind to recognize abundance, to see provision, to acknowledge increase even when it is small. Then you will read your definite chief aim again, quietly this time, to yourself, reviewing the target, measuring your progress, adjusting your focus, and then you will write. You will write 3 actions you will take tomorrow that advance your aim, 3 specific, measurable, time-bound actions, not wishes, not intentions, actions. And those 3 actions will become the next day's marching orders. This is how you ensure that every day moves you forward. This is how you eliminate drift. This is how you turn time into progress and progress into result. Your weekly rhythm will include your mastermind meeting, as we have already established. 60 minutes, same day, same time. Goals, obstacles, commitments, prayer, non-negotiable. And in addition to that meeting, you will dedicate your 5 hours to building your microsystem. Those 5 hours are sacred. They are protected. They are the investment that compounds into freedom. And at the end of every week, on Sunday evening, you will conduct an audit. 30 minutes. You will review your metrics. You will ask yourself these questions. Did I perform my morning ritual at least 6 out of 7 days? Did I perform my evening review at least 6 out of 7 days? Did I attend my mastermind meeting? Did I invest my 5 hours into my microsystem? Did I execute at least 85% of the actions I committed to? These are not aspirational questions. These are pass-fail questions. And if you fail, if your percentage drops below 85, then you adjust. You identify the obstacle. You remove it. You rebuild the rhythm. Because rhythm is law, and law does not tolerate excuses. Now let me address the voices that will try to stop you. You will hear them. They will rise from within and from without, and you must know how to silence them before they silence you. The first voice will say, "I don't have time." That voice is a liar. You have the same 24 hours that every builder, every millionaire, every master has had. The question is not whether you have time. The question is whether you are willing to govern it. You will find 5 hours per week if you eliminate 1 hour of distraction per day. You will find 30 minutes in the morning if you rise 30 minutes earlier. You will find 20 minutes in the evening if you turn off the screen 20 minutes sooner. Time is not the issue. Discipline is, and if you are not willing to govern your time, then you are not ready to govern wealth. Wealth obeys the man who obeys time. The second voice will say, "I don't feel motivated." Good. Motivation is not required. Obedience is. The man who waits for motivation will wait forever. The man who moves regardless of how he feels will build momentum, and momentum creates motivation. Not the other way around. You do not need to feel like speaking your affirmations. You simply speak them. You do not need to feel like sitting in silence. You simply sit. You do not need to feel like working on your microsystem. You simply work. And after you have obeyed for 7 days, for 14 days, for 30 days, you will begin to feel different. Not because feelings lead action, but because action creates feelings. So dismiss the voice that demands emotion before movement. That voice serves weakness. You serve law. The third voice will say, "What if people think I'm crazy?" Let them think. Let them mock. Let them dismiss. Their opinions are not your concern. Your concern is obedience. And the man who is afraid to look foolish will never do anything remarkable. Every builder, every innovator, every man who changed the world was called crazy at the start. And every one of them ignored the voices and continued building. You are not building for applause. You are building for result. And when the result comes, when the harvest appears, the voices will fall silent. Not because they believe in you, but because they cannot deny what you have built. So guard your vision. Do not discuss your ritual with skeptics. Do not share your affirmations with mockers. Walk quietly. Build silently, and let your results speak. The fourth voice will say, I've tried things like this before and they didn't work. That voice is the ghost of past failure trying to govern your future. But the past is not law. The past is data. And if you failed before, it is because you did not obey the full system. You started strong and drifted. You spoke affirmations but never decided. You wrote a goal but never built a system. You gathered knowledge but never took action. This time will be different, not because you are different, but because you are obeying the complete law. You are combining aim with affirmation, affirmation with silence, silence with decision, decision with alliance, alliance with rhythm. And when all 6 laws are obeyed simultaneously, failure is not possible, delay is possible, adjustment is necessary, but failure is only available to the man who quits. And you will not quit. The fifth voice will say, what if I don't see results in 30 days? Then you will continue for 60. And if not in 60, then 90. And if not in 90, then 180. Because the law does not operate on your timeline. It operates on the timeline of sowing and reaping. And no farmer expects to harvest the day after he plants. He sows, he waters, he waits, he trusts, and at the appointed time the harvest comes, not because he was special, but because he obeyed the rhythm. You are not looking for a trick. You are not looking for a shortcut. You are planting a system, and systems, once built, run. They produce, they multiply, but they require time. So you will measure your obedience, not your outcomes. You will track your execution, not your emotions. And when the execution percentage remains high, when the rhythm remains unbroken, the outcome is inevitable. The sixth voice will say, I'm too old, I'm too late, I've wasted too much time. That voice is the enemy of redemption. And I say to you, the man who changes his mind today changes his life tomorrow. Age is not the barrier, belief is. And belief can be rebuilt at any age and any circumstance by any man who is willing to obey the law. Moses was 80 when he led a nation. Colonel Sanders was 65 when he built an empire. Ray Kroc was 52 when he bought McDonald's. You are not too late. You are exactly on time. And the moment you decide, the moment you write your aim, the moment you speak your first affirmation, you have begun. And beginning is the only requirement. The rest is rhythm. So now you understand the aim, you understand the affirmations, you understand the silence, you understand the decision, you understand the alliance, you understand the rhythm. And now comes the moment when you must choose. Will you remain as you are, drifting, hoping, wishing, or will you step into the ritual, into the law, into the discipline that commands increase? This is not a question of intelligence. This is not a question of resources. This is a question of will. And will is the one thing over which you have absolute dominion. No one can take it. No one can weaken it. No one can govern it but you. So what will you choose? I stand before you now, not as a teacher, but as a witness. I walked this path. I came from nothing. I was born in the hills of Virginia, the son of a poor miner, with no inheritance, no connections, no safety. But I had a mind, and I had a choice. I chose to study the miner, laws that govern success. I chose to align with men who understood those laws. I chose to obey the rhythm, to speak the affirmations, to build the systems, to form the alliances. And because I obeyed, because I did not quit, because I refused to accept the limitations that were handed to me, I became more than the world expected. I advised the wealthiest men of my generation. I documented the principles that built empires. I passed down a system that has transformed millions, and I did it all by obeying the laws I have given you today. So I know they work. I know they are true. And I know that if you obey them with the same precision, with the same discipline, with the same refusal to retreat, you will receive the same result. But I cannot walk for you. I cannot speak for you. I cannot decide for you. You must do that yourself. And you must do it now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready, now. Because every day you delay is a day you remain in bondage. Every day you hesitate is a day the man who did not hesitate gains ground. Every day you wait is a day that wealth flows to someone else, someone who decided, someone who moved, someone who obeyed. And when you look back on this moment, when you are old and your time is running out, you will not regret the things you tried and failed at. You will regret the things you never tried at all. You will regret the law you knew but did not obey. You will regret the ritual you understood but did not practice. You will regret the life you could have commanded but chose to let slip away. So I say to you, with the full force of my spirit, with the authority of every law I have taught, with the weight of every principle I have proven, do not let this moment pass. Do not nod your head and return to the same old patterns. Do not acknowledge the truth and then ignore it. Stand up, write your aim, speak your affirmations, enter the ritual, form your alliance, build your system, obey the rhythm, and do it for 30 days without deviation, without excuse, without retreat, and then do it for 60, and then for 90, and at the end of 90 days you will not be the same man. You will not speak the same way. You will not think the same way. You will not move the same way. You will have become the man who commands. And when you have become that man, wealth will have no choice but to follow. Now I give you your juramento, your oath, the declaration that seals this covenant between you and the law. Speak these words aloud. Let them echo in the chamber of your soul. Let them burn into the fabric of your identity. I do not wait for freedom. I build it now. I command wealth by wisdom. I sow understanding and the gold pursues me. I am not what I was. I am what I am becoming. I speak law. I act in faith. I move without fear. My aim is fixed. My mind is governed. My habits serve my vision. I do not beg. I do not drift. I do not delay. I obey the rhythm. I honor the alliance. I build the system. And what I build with integrity, what I govern with discipline, what I sow with wisdom, God multiplies beyond measure. I am no longer a servant to circumstance. I am a master of my inner world, and my inner world commands my outer world. This is my oath. This is my law. This is my life, and I will not break it. Now here is your command, the single action you will take within the next 24 hours. You will write your definite chief aim. You will write it in complete detail, the amount, the date, the service, the metric. You will write all 11 affirmations in your own hand on paper with ink. And then you will do 3 things before the sun sets tomorrow. First, you will print your aim and fold it into your wallet. Second, you will record a 60-second audio of yourself speaking your 11 affirmations with conviction. And third, you will send an invitation to 2 to 5 people, inviting them into your mastermind alliance, proposing the first meeting date. All 3 actions. Within 24 hours. No negotiation. No delay. No excuse. This is the action that burns the bridge. This is the decision that activates the law. And when you complete these 3 actions, you will feel it. You will feel the shift. You will feel the power of commitment. You will feel the beginning of the harvest. And here is the image I leave you with. Picture yourself tomorrow morning. The sun has not yet risen. The world is still dark. The house is quiet. You stand before your mirror, your aim folded in your pocket, your reflection clear in the glass. You take a breath. You square your shoulders, and you speak. I am a man of wealth and wisdom. Your voice is steady. Your eyes are locked. And for the first time in your life, you believe it. Not because someone told you to, but because you decided. And in that moment, in that quiet, sacred moment, before the world wakes, you have stepped across the line. You have moved from the kingdom of the drifting into the kingdom of the deliberate. You have ceased being a man who wishes and become a man who commands, and the sound of your voice, echoing in the stillness, is the first note of a symphony that will play for the rest of your life, a symphony of increase, a symphony of abundance, a symphony of power. And it begins now, not tomorrow, now. Speak, move, build, obey, and watch the world bend.